Coding 101 The Kids Way is an educational program which teaches kids ages 7 to 12 years all about coding and how coding impacts their world. The aim of the program is to inspire kids to learn how to code through practical experiences and insights to career opportunities. This outline was developed by Smart Kids Educational Club on behalf of Tambourine Learning for the Public Broadcasting Corporation of Jamaica.
Are you ready? Let's go! Wow! All right! Hey mini coders, we're back with another episode of Coding 101 The Kids Way. I'm Cece the Robot. Before we get into the show, let's recap last week's show about how computers can make our clothes better. Computers can help fashion designers create amazing new designs for clothes. They use special software that lets them draw and color their designs on the computer, then see how they look in 3D.
I'm now able to draw on an iPad or some kind of tablet or with a stylus. I can do an illustration while I'm maybe watching a TV show.
Overall, computers can help us make clothes that are more beautiful, comfortable, and unique. Last week was amazing! If you missed it, you can check out the full episode and other episodes on our YouTube channel at PBCJamaica. Now, let the show begin because we're about to learn all about coding. Let's begin by understanding clearly what is coding. Coding is like giving instructions to a computer to make it do something. Just like we use words to communicate with each other, we use coding to communicate with computers. For example, if you want to make a computer display a message that says, "Hello world," we might write the line of coding that says, print, open bracket, quotation mark, hello, comma, world, exclamation mark, quotation mark, closed bracket. When we run this code, the computer will display the message on the screen. Coding involves learning a special language that computers can understand and using that language to write instructions that the computer will follow. These instructions can be used to create all sorts of things like websites, apps, games, and more. Coding can be a lot of fun, and it's a valuable skill to have in today's world. It can help us solve problems, express our creativity, and even make the world a better place. But let's talk about coding languages now that we understand what coding is. There are many different coding languages, but they can be grouped into a few main categories. Let's start with text-based languages. These are the most common types of coding languages, and they involve writing code using text. Some popular text-based languages include Python, Java, and JavaScript. If you've ever seen a programmer typing away on a computer, they're probably using a text-based language. Another one is visual languages. These coding languages use pictures and symbols instead of text. This makes them easier for younger kids to learn since they don't have to worry about spelling or syntax. Some popular visual languages include Scratch and Blockly. We also have markup languages. These languages are used to create websites and web pages. They involve writing code that tells the computer how to display text, images, and other content on a web page. Some popular markup languages include HTML and CSS. And lastly, we have game development languages. These languages are used to create video games. They involve writing code that tells the computer how to display graphics, play sounds, and respond to user input. Some popular game development languages include C++, Unity, and Unreal Engine. Each type of coding language has its own strengths and weaknesses and is used for different purposes. But no matter what type of language you choose, Coding can be a lot of fun and a great way to learn new skills. Let's also look at coding languages compared to human languages. We know that people use different languages to communicate with each other. Computers use different languages to communicate with programmers. These languages are called coding languages. But unlike human languages, coding languages are designed specifically for computers. They use special words and symbols that the computer can understand and follow. For example, in English, we might say, I want to go to the park. But in coding language like Python, we might write go underscore to open bracket, quotation mark, park, quotation mark, closed bracket. This tells the computer to go to the park, just like how we're telling it in English, but instead of using words like I and want, we're using coding languages to give the computer specific instructions. Another difference between coding languages and human language is that coding languages are much more precise. In English, we might say, I'm going to the store. But in coding language, we would need to be much more specific. We might write go underscore to open bracket, quotation mark, store, quotation mark, comma, quotation mark, 1, 2, 3, Main Street, quotation mark, close bracket. This tells the computer exactly which store to go to and where it's located. In coding, even small mistakes can cause big problems, so you need to be very careful and precise when writing code. Overall, coding languages are like a special way of talking to computers. They're different from human languages, but just as important in helping us communicate and work with these amazing machines. We'll be right back with more Coding 101 mini coders. Hey mini coders, we're back. I'm Cece the robot, and I'm so excited to be here on Coding 101, the kids' way. Let's refresh. We talked about coding and different coding languages compared to human language. Got that? Great. We're about to dive deeper into coding by talking to our guest, Greg. Hey Greg, what's up?
I'm okay, Cece.
I have a few questions I want to ask you about coding, and the mini coders are extremely excited to hear from you. So, what do you do as a coder?
Alright, so as a coder, more specifically a full stack web developer, I create applications, line of business applications. I write code for both front end and back end. Front end is what you see, the fonts, the buttons, the forms, and the back end is what you don't see. This is the functionality that enables things like submission, file uploads, and just any other thing that you can think of, so downloads and stuff like that.
How do you create coding programs?
All right, so computer programs are created by writing code. I'd like to let you know that applications can be put into one of three groups. This is desktop, mobile, and web. All three share similarities in terms of they all require the use of programming languages to be created, and they also require a software that's called an IDE to create it.
What programming languages do you know?
All right, Cece. So in terms of programming languages, on an expert level, I know C# and JavaScript. In terms of what's out there, I have dabbled in Java, Python, PHP, and Dart.
So, how long does it take to create a computer program?
So I'd say this varies. I mean, you can take anywhere from under 5 minutes to create a simple Hello World program to taking a few years to create a more sophisticated product such as Microsoft Office, any one of the Office products.
How do you test your programs?
All right, so testing your programs, they require different set of techniques. You can classify testing into 3 areas. There are unit tests, integration tests, and there's also end-to-end testing. There's also UI automation tests. But for me personally, I use a combination of writing unit tests and performing manual tests.
Interesting. What inspired you to become a coder though?
All right, CC. So my inspiration came when I bought my first smartphone. This was a HTC HD2 that was running Windows Phone 7 and could dual boot into Android. Dual booting is where you run two operating systems on one platform. So at the time, with Windows Phone 7, there were certain applications on it, and I wanted to learn how to build applications for that particular platform. And so that curiosity led me to taking up coding more seriously.
What's the most difficult part of coding?
I'd say the difficulty can vary based on your skill level. I'd say that when you're just getting started, it can be difficult to know what to learn and how much of it to learn. Since coding is a multidisciplinary field where you have to learn one thing in conjunction with another, and you have to put the two things together. So when you're just getting started, it's difficult to learn, or difficult to know what to learn and how much of it to learn. As you progress where you start building applications for different clients or different businesses, it can be difficult to know what to build for them that would satisfy their particular need.
How do you fix errors in your code?
Fixing errors in your code requires you to use a combination of steps. Usually I debug my code. This is where you spend the time to go through line by line as the code is being executed and find errors as they pop up. I use a combination of debugging as well as logging to output various parts of the program to know what is happening while it is running.
What's the coolest thing you've ever created with coding?
This is a tough one, CC. I'd say the coolest things I've created, since I'd say it's more than one over time, is implementing a drag and drop file upload interface, creating APIs to process payment, as well as creating UI search. So similarly to how you can use your phone or your computer to search for files, I've created a feature like that.
How do you keep up with the new coding technologies?
All right, so I usually keep up by subscribing to YouTube channels. In particular, there's a channel called Fireship that keeps me well informed. When I'm not on YouTube, I'll browse through Facebook and Twitter, where sometimes they showcase emerging technologies. Other times, during my work, in trying to solve a problem, a solution might be proposed and I'll have to research it further. And so that broadens my awareness and expands my knowledge.
Can you teach me how to code?
Yeah, sure. I could actually help you get started. There are quite a few resources on the internet to get started. Most notably, there's W3 Schools, which is a very valuable resource for programmers around the world.
What kind of jobs could you get as a coder?
All right, so as a coder, you can explore different jobs. You can get a job as a front-end developer, you can get a job as a back-end developer, or as a mobile app developer. In terms of more emerging jobs or more modern jobs, you can get a job as a data analyst, data engineer, or a machine learning engineer.
Oh, what's the future of coding?
All right, CC, so I'd say this is an interesting question. But based on what I've been seeing so far, I'd say the future of coding is more AI-driven development, where artificial intelligence will be used to assist in the coding process and reduce the time it takes to build software.
How do you stay creative while coding?
All right, CC, so for me, I usually put on tracks. instrumentals, anywhere from lo-fi jazz to chill hop to smooth jazz, just to keep me in flow.
What advice do you have for someone who wants to become a coder?
Okay, Cece, so for someone who wants to become a coder, I'd say that they can get started from where they are. They can use their laptop, their tablet, their phone to get started. There are quite a few resources out there to help them, most notably, as I mentioned earlier, W3 schools to get started. I'd say to them that they need to be patient, since learning how to code can initially be daunting. But as they progress, they can use various resources such as Google, Stack Overflow, and more modernly, ChatGPT to help them learn how to code. There's also Bing Chat to help them on their journey. But I'd say it takes a lot of patience and a lot of trial and error to get started.
Thanks, Greg, for joining us and showing us how to code with Chrome. Mini Coders, we'll be right back with more Coding 101, so don't you dare move! And we're back, Mini Coders, with more Coding 101. If you're just joining us, I'm Cece the Robot. Before the break, we got a vast knowledge of what is coding. We compared the different coding languages to human languages, and we spoke with Greg, who's a coder by profession, and he gave us a wide knowledge of it all. Our friend Maria Villa is about to show us how to code with Chrome. Take a look, Mini Coders.
Hi everyone, it's Zoe from the Scratch team, also known as Zinnia. Today I wanted to show you how to make a jumping game in Scratch. By the end of this tutorial, you'll be able to make a game like this one, where you can have a character jumping over moving obstacles. We'll do this in 5 steps. Make your character jump, make a moving obstacle, stop the game, add more obstacles, and keep score. Let's get started. So first, let's pick a character and make it jump. You can pick any character you want. I will pick the chick. And let's also choose a backdrop. I'll use the blue sky. To make the character jump upwards, we can use this block, change Y by 10. And if we make it repeat that 10 times, it'll go up really high. Now, we also want it to come back down. To do this, we can change Y by -10. And let's put that in a repeat loop too. Nice. It would be fun for the character to jump when we press the space key, so we can add the when space key pressed block on top, and then we can make it jump with space. We can also enhance the jump by making it play a sound, so we can just add this block, start sound chirp. Nice. Now our character can jump. Next, let's make a moving obstacle, so our character has something to jump over. First, let's pick an obstacle. It could be anything you'd like it to be. I'll pick the egg. I'm actually going to make the egg a little smaller by setting its size to 80. You want the obstacle to be a bit smaller than your character, so your character can jump over it. Now, we want our obstacle to start at this side of the screen and glide over to this side of the screen. First, how do we tell the egg to start over here? We can tell it to go to a certain position. With this block, go to X and Y. In Scratch, every position on the stage has a certain number X and a certain number Y. In case it's your first time seeing this, X represents how far your sprite is from this side of the screen to this side of the screen, so side to side, and Y represents how high up your sprite is. So we need to tell the egg to go to this spot right here. Here's an easy way to do that. Just drag the egg to where you want it to go, and then the Go To block in the menu over here actually updates to the exact X and Y of that spot. So we can just drag this block out. And then to make the egg glide across the screen, we can use this block, Glide to XY, which makes a sprite glide smoothly to a certain place. We want the egg to glide to here, so we can just drag the egg over here, and then this glide block in the menu updates to the X and Y of this spot. So we can just drag that out too, and connect it, and now the egg can glide across the screen. Now, the egg glided once, but we want more eggs to keep coming. We can do that by putting this in a forever loop. And let's make this start when we click the green flag. Gliding across the screen in just 1 second is a little fast, so let's make the egg take 3 seconds to glide across the screen. Now we can jump over obstacles. Next, let's make the game stop if we run into the egg. There's this block, Stop All, that will stop everything in your project. And we can make the egg wait until it's touching the chick. And then if it does run into the chick, have it stop the game. Let's try that out. I'll purposefully not jump. There you go, everything stopped. Oh, And let's fix this problem. Sometimes the chick gets stuck in the air because its code gets stopped when it runs into the egg, but it might not have been finished with its jump, so it's just frozen there. So we can fix this by making the chick go to a starting position when the game starts. So I'll put my chick where I want it to start, and then I will drag out a go to block, which will be set to that X and Y of that spot, and make that happen when you click the green flag. There we go. Now, to make our game even more fun, let's add more obstacles. It's actually really easy to do that. Just right-click on the egg and click duplicate. Now we have another egg with all the same code as the first egg, so it will glide just like the first egg does. Let's try it out. So we can't see the second egg. That's because it's right on top of the first egg. They have the exact same code, so they're gliding at the exact same time. So let's make the second egg wait 1 second before it starts gliding, so that they're spaced out from each other. Now, this looks good, except this egg is just sitting in the middle of the screen while it waits for 1 second. So let's make it hide when the project starts, so it'll be invisible, and then make it show once it's done waiting. That looks much better. And lastly, let's add a score so the player earns points every time they jump over the egg. To do this, let's make a variable. In Scratch, you can use a variable to keep track of a certain number in your project. So I'll make a variable called score, and we'll use it to keep track of the player's score. Every time the player manages to complete a jump, we can increase their score by 1. Nice. And when the player loses and the project restarts, we can set their score back to 0. There we go. That's a jumping game. I hope this tutorial helped you out. There are lots of other things you could try. You could have multiple kinds of obstacles. You could have, once the player reaches a certain score, the backdrop changes, so it's like they went to level 2. I can't wait to see all the things you make. Well, I'll see you next time. And scratch on.
That was interesting. Coming into this episode, we had no idea we could code with Comb, and now it's so easy. Thanks, Mari, for teaching us how to code with Chrome. That's all for now, mini coders. Until next time.